Hello and welcome to the SEGA Nerdcast, episode 87. I'm Chris, the editor of SEGA Nerds, and with me this week is Kopke and Marcin. How's it going, fellas?
Hey,
Pretty
what's up?
nice. What up?
Man, it's been a while since we've, it seems like we've been a while, it's been a while at least since we've done a Nerdcast, but it's good to be back. What do you guys think?
It's been like, what, 2 weeks maybe? Give or
Yeah,
take.
yeah.
It
And
feels like forever. I mean, everybody's like working too much in these last days, so it's like almost an eternity.
that's the problem. We have such ridiculously busy lives these days.
Yeah.
Too busy,
It's crazy.
over-caffeinated.
Yeah. And for me, I don't know about you guys. I mean, man, these next few weeks are going to be even more crazy for me. I mean, we're going to get ready to be moving to New Jersey next month, and it's just crazy. So pretty much from now through then, it's going to be super busy. But I'm hoping that we'll be able to take some time out, each week and record a show and get that out, because really that's almost, for me at least, it's a time where I can kind of relax and have a little bit of fun and just kind of get away from the normal craziness of my week. But we're actually recording this on Monday night right now.
Yeah.
Well, we normally record on the weekend. I'm actually in Georgia on doing a story on the military's inter-service pistol competition. So I'm in Georgia for the first time ever in my life. I don't know. Have you guys ever visited Georgia before?
No, never.
Might have driven through it, but never actually
You probably wouldn't want to
stayed.
stop. Yeah. Well, I'm in Columbus, Georgia, which I didn't even know existed before earlier last week. But I'm here, and it kind of sucks is after we got settled in, we flew into Atlanta, which Atlanta's cool. We driving in, from Atlanta, we stopped at this amazing barbecue spot called Moe's Barbecue outside of Atlanta, and oh my God, it was the best. They had this thing called a bushwhacker, which is basically a chocolate malt or shake, a chocolate shake, but it has rum in it.
Ah,
And it had a ton of rum, and then they
Fact.
topped it off with some
and
151.
may I ask you something? Why are you not posting pics of that?
I know, you're right. I should have. I did post I did post a picture in the bathroom of, because on one of they have a big window in there that's covered up this wooden sign that just looks really cool. It's kind of the Moe's logo. But what's even cooler on the other side, and I did take a photo of it, but I haven't posted on Instagram yet. They have the map of Terminus from The Walking Dead, which that whole part, takes place in Georgia. And they have all these a map and all these roads and stuff leading to Terminus, which is really neat. It's pretty cool. So I need to
You
post
bet
that
your
up
ass
there
are gonna
as
milk
well.
that stuff. It's like, yeah, we record The Walking Dead here. So tourism spiked,
Mhm.
I'm sure, since that show started.
Yeah, it'd be kind of funny is if they made a barbecue place, but they made it that made you think you were eating zombie barbecue.
I don't know if I'd want to eat something that resembled a head or a hand.
It might be fun to do, no?
Yeah.
So anyway, what have you guys been up to this week? Marcin, why don't you start us out?
It's just been busy and hectic, and lots of work and not enough time to play games, which is what I'd rather do. But yeah, I mean, right now as we're talking, I'm simultaneously also watching the Hawks game because Chicago Blackhawks, woo! But yeah, that's my week in a nutshell.
Nice. Kopke, what about you, buddy?
Ooh, I really had a blast of a weekend. This particular one. Let me see if I can share you my screen share. Here it is. Can you guys see it?
I still see your beautiful face.
See your Sonic shirt.
Man. Well, okay. Well, the thing is that there's this huge toys and figures event, which Bandai organizes like every year, which is called Tamashi Nations, which Bandai showcases their upcoming figures and upcoming toys and makes this huge show with a lot of toys around. So the thing is that from 2 years on, they started making a worldwide tour with this toy figure showcase. So the thing is that there are only three countries that Bandai visits in this continent. One is United States, the other is Mexico, and the other one is Brazil.
Mm.
So what happened is I went to cover the showcase for Mexico for the other magazine I write, which is Atomics. And I nerded out the whole day, like watching a lot of figures. And actually, Bandai gave me like the program they give you, like this thing. Like this is the upcoming preview where new figures are coming in, and
Oh wow.
and they also gave me like my press coverage pass, and
I
it's
like
really fancy. It has an hologram and all, and they also gave me like a box with Saint Seiya toys for free. Like, hey, thank you for covering our event.
I
And
want free shit.
yeah, and I wanted the T-shirt, but they didn't have any of my size, so I kind of pissed off with that. But the show was pretty amazing. Actually, we recorded a video. I made like a historical tour around the showcase about these robot Chagokins that Bandai has there, and there's a lot of Saint Seiya stuff, which people are really crazy right now about that show in Latin America because the new series was just premiered, and I really was nerding out way too much. And I made a few pickups, but we'll get to that and later in the show. Also, this today I received a couple of things. The first one is this. It's a Saturn bag.
Oh wow.
That is also a backpack, and you can also fit a Saturn, and it fits perfectly in it.
Are you
It's
gonna take it
amazing.
out of the plastic casing?
Yeah. I can do that.
Okay, I'm going to say this while Kapi's doing this. I have
Unboxing.
never met another person who gets so much Sega merchandise. It's every day Kapi is getting
I didn't know there was that much to begin
Oh my
with.
gosh. I don't even, where do you
Okay,
even put
check
it?
this out.
Wow.
Check this out. Here's the lid. Once you turn it up, guess what happens?
Oh my god, that's
You get
awesome.
a CD, yeah, and you can have like a lace here, and it turns into a messenger bag, or you can place the lace here, and it turns into a backpack.
So for
These
those
guys,
listening, basically, he has like a messenger bag, and it has a what model Saturn is that? That's one of the Japanese models,
yeah,
right?
it's the first Japanese model.
Okay, and so the front like I guess flap is a top down image of the Saturn, and you
yeah.
open that up, and underneath that it looks like you've opened up the lid, and you can actually see the inside with the CD. It looks like it's spinning or sitting in the Saturn. It looks really awesome.
It's really awesome, and you can fit your Saturn perfectly in here. It's I don't know, like Sega Japan makes really amazing merchandise. I wonder why the American counterpart doesn't do that. Yeah, I mean we would be like throwing money at them every day, but they don't like money, I guess. The other
Yes,
thing I got
man.
today
Take some money.
is this model 112 model of Sega Arcade core, which is a very popular one, which is Hang On. And the thing with this model is that you can actually place action figures in it, but you have to assemble it. The good thing is that these Japanese things are really idiocy-proof, so no matter how I assemble this, I won't mess up. So
Yeah, but if you swallow it, you know, not
yeah. No.
completely
The,
idiot
the
proof.
parts the parts are big enough so that you don't hurt yourself with it. So
Don't put any of the parts in your butt, Kapi.
Yeah.
I
You
won't.
don't want a bad emergency ER
It's
story.
it's pretty big, so I guess I won't fit in a part that's small. The other thing I got today is this. Is Selvaria from Valkyria Chronicles.
Ooh.
Yeah, you see those big boobs? Yeah, that's Selvaria.
Ginormous cleavage. Let's call it. Let's keep
Yeah,
it.
So
PR.
you can judge this. This is my head, and this is how big the figure is. So I was pretty
Oh,
amazed
man.
that they really made a figure this big, and it's really well detailed. Here's how it looks once it's open.
Yes, she is.
Yeah, she's very big in every part. So that's what I did. We'll get into the gaming section once we're there, but yeah, I nerded out in this. It's really a shame that I cannot share my screen because the pictures were really awesome, like with all this gallery of toys.
Wow.
And that's what I did this weekend.
More fun than me.
Yeah, no kidding, man. I worked all weekend.
Yeah.
I hated life this weekend. So, anyway, we're going to introduce a few new segments in the Nerdcast this week, and we're really aiming to kind of not necessarily revamp the Nerdcast, but we're going to be making some changes to the format in the next few weeks and months to hopefully just provide a better overall experience for you guys, for the listeners out there. And we think we're going to be making some positive changes to it. But we'll be introducing a little bit of those today, and more changes will be coming as we go forward. But before we get into some of that stuff, we did get a mailbag question, a couple of mailbag questions on Twitter, and at I'm going to completely blow his name, but Nurmugen, he came in.
Yeah.
He asks, do you expect something for this E3, being Sega or anything gaming related? So basically, I guess he wants to know maybe what we're expecting or what we're most looking forward to coming out into E3 this year. So I want to open up to you guys. What are you guys looking forward to, or maybe any surprise announcements that you guys think we might get?
Who wants to go? Because I could go. I'll go.
Go ahead, Marcin.
Yeah,
Go first.
Go.
So they already announced that they won't be having a booth at E3 this year. So, but that doesn't mean that other companies can't announce something, that is Sega related. So I mean, there's a couple of things, and rumors always, start around E3, and so in my opinion, it could be anything from a Shenmue HD, not a 3, because that in my opinion, would be still pretty stupid to release a sequel without, reintroducing the series to a new audience.
Yeah.
So either that, it could be maybe something like a Jet Set Radio sequel, or I don't know, but I think they might have one or two things up their sleeve that they'll show, even if they're not there. So yeah, that's me.
You know what? One thing that I think they really missed the boat on, which would have been cool, especially early on the Xbox One. What if they would have made a Space Channel 5 Xbox One launch title that was Kinect enabled?
No, that would be nice.
See, it would work because things like Just Dance, or it doesn't even have to be for Xbox One, because you have the PlayStation camera, and you got the Wii U sensors, which would require the remote. So it could be multi-platform even if they really wanted to.
Yeah.
But I don't see why they just can't make a sequel to Space Channel 5.
Money.
We don't like money.
That's the thing.
No, I think that's a good one, Marcin. Shenmue HD. I mean, that's something that's been talked about for so long, and even at this E3, every E3 we get the Shenmue rumors, like you said, and this has been no different. We had the one a few weeks ago that turned out to be a fake, and that had like the three like cherry, I don't know what they were, like flower petals that were flying.
It was like a zoom screen up of like a jacket, and there was like an imprint.
Yeah.
Of,
I've gone through this so many times that there's no way I was even going to touch that story for the website. So, obviously I'm glad we didn't do anything with it because it turned out to be a fake. And there's been other reports from various websites that I've never heard of before. It just, and they come out and be like, oh, there's going to be a new Shenmue 3 announced for Xbox One and all this stuff.
From some seedy news site, yeah.
Yeah.
And most of these sites play with everyone's feeling, like making a lot of photoshopped stuff that they just come up with their heads.
I heard an interesting. I can't remember what podcast I was listening to, but I heard an interesting take on that. Because they said that it's not necessarily bad that these people are doing that. It's bad in the sense that it's getting the community's hopes up, and they're inevitably going to get let down. But it's also keeping Shenmue in the public eye. Every year people announce this stuff, and people start talking about Shenmue again. And so that kind of got me thinking a little bit, and almost kind of reevaluate a little bit of how I felt about it, because I was really upset. I get really mad when people put these like false news stories out there, because I think it's I think it's really irresponsible from fans trying to do that. And usually what they're trying to do is just dupe like respectable gaming sites into running this fake news. That's really what they're trying to do. And I think that it's irresponsible, and it makes gaming sites less trustworthy of people sending them news tips, and that's that sucks. But at the same time, it's an interesting, I think, way of looking at it. Like, hey, maybe it's not necessarily 100% bad, because, like I said, it's keeping the Shenmue name in the public eye. It's keeping people talking about Shenmue, whereas otherwise we would go this E3 without even talking about it at all. At least we're talking about it a little bit.
Yeah,
Right.
I agree with that. For E3, I would be expecting like Yakuza-related announcements. Like, finally, we're getting the 5th, and maybe if God is big enough, we can get Yakuza 0 for PS4s, because PS4 right now needs like major games out there. So I think those guys like putting money in it so that the game can come over here. I think if it happens, it would be like Sony, like spending money on it. And the other one I think we're gonna be watching a little bit is Fighting Climax on the Sony booth. That's a given. But
Yeah, those are
more. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say I think the Yakuza one is really interesting, because I can't remember who it was in Sony, but there was a Sony exec that said the last couple of weeks that their first-party titles are going to be lacking this year and going into E3. So I expect, at least with Sony, that they're going to be pushing more third-party games at their booth, maybe during their press event. So I really could see Sony announcing something Yakuza-related, or even if it's not necessarily a new Yakuza game, maybe the Yakuza 5 gets some love during their press event or something like that. Which really, if you look back at the last few E3s, none of the big three, Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft, have really showcased very many Sega games. I mean, you could say that they showed Bayonetta 2, but that wasn't really a Sega-developed game. So it would be interesting to see some love, from Sega during one of the big press events. And I think Yakuza could definitely be a game that Sony would push forward, especially if they're announcing a new game outside of that. But yeah, I mean, it's tough to really think about what to expect out of E3, because, like you guys said, Sega's not going to have an official presence there. We do know Total War Warhammer is going to be there in some form.
In the PC press from, which was AMD, right? The AMD conference.
Yeah, and I'm really looking forward to that. I mean, I've never really been a big Warhammer guy. I've never been a big Total War guy, but just from the previews I've read, it sounds like a really interesting game, and I'm looking forward to seeing some more of that. But as far as surprise announces go, man, it's tough to say. I don't even know. I would love, honestly, like the one thing that I would really love to see is maybe a new classics compilation announced for maybe the 3DS or something like that Sega would put out. I've been really wanting Sega to put out a new compilation. Maybe that they would announce that the first run of Sega 3D Classics would be coming to like a physical 3DS like they did in Japan. That would be really cool. I would be totally down for that. You could have them all on just one 3DS cartridge, which would be pretty cool.
Yeah, with that wonderful cover made by this guy from Game Freak. I forget his name. Like, The cover was really
Yeah,
pretty.
yeah. Oh, it looked amazing. I would totally be down for that. But also, I don't really expect too much from Sega. I am looking forward to seeing more Fallout. That looks completely awesome. Especially after I went and watched the new Mad Max movie, and that really reminded me of Fallout, and it really wanted me to go play. It made me want to go play Fallout after that, and so I'm on a big kind of post-apocalyptic style, movie and game thing right now. So Fallout is really what I'm wanting to play right now. So outside of Sega, I'm really looking for Fallout, but I'm not really expecting too much as far as surprise announcements go.
It is also
Next
one
up,
of the. I just want to add a little something. I'm gonna be short. It is also one of the darkest E3s for the Japanese industry. I mean, most of them are like broke or like with so less money, and let's hope they take a real step forward and announce better things so they can move forward and get a better financial
yeah.
situation.
I mean, you're right. I mean, and that's the thing. You keep hearing about how the Japanese console market and just the handle market is really struggling. And I want to say it was last week, the hardware and software sales reports came out of Japan, and I think that the Nintendo 3DS was the biggest selling hardware at like 14 to 17,000 units or something like that, which is just ridiculously low. I mean, usually the 3DS is selling a lot, and the Vita, I want to say, came in second, which is pretty crazy. But it's just across the board, the Japanese, hardware and console market is really struggling with companies like you said, Copy. They're struggling financially. A lot of them are moving towards mobile because that's where they're seeing they can make more money right now. And it's really scary from a fan of Japanese video games, because a lot of people don't want to play mobile games. I don't play mobile games very rarely. I have maybe a few installed on my phone, but I typically don't want to sit down and play a game on my phone. I'd rather play it on my Vita or my 3DS if I want to play something that's portable. But I prefer sitting down on my couch and playing the traditional way, and it just seems like through several different things, whether it's the Japanese economy, whether it's the Japanese video game developers struggling to evolve with the changing taste of gamers outside of Japan, or whatever it may be, they're struggling and they're not putting out as many games as they used to. And so you're right, this E3 is going to be pretty dismal when it comes to games outside or
And
from
also, the interesting part is it is the first E3 that's having a PC conference, so we're also watching a bigger rise for the PC market.
Mhm.
PC Master Race.
Yeah, they are going to conquer us, so you better get allies.
Or start buying stuff on Steam.
And so next up, Tyreek asks, what are your predictions on the soon-to-be announced Platinum Games title? I just heard about this before we went on the air. Have you guys read much about this at all? There's, I guess, some Platinum Games going to be announcing a new game. What can you tell us about it, Kopke?
Well, what they have only stated is that they're going to be announcing a new unannounced title. It is like something they haven't like previously teased or anything, and they are going to be doing it with IGN. So it looks like Platinum Games is not searching for compromise with any of the big players like Nintendo, Sony, or Xbox. So maybe we're expecting something like multi-platform, because
here's what I think it's going to be. I'm going to say, and I bet this is what it's going to be.
That Bayonetta
I think it's
DLC.
going to be no, I wish. I think it's going to be a new Mad World game, and I'll tell you why. Because if you look at Platinum Games' social media, or on Twitter at least, over the last few months, they've been slowly teasing some Mad World stuff. They'll be posting, like, I think it was like on Valentine's Day, they posted some Mad World related images, and they've just posted like over the last few months. It's just almost recurring that there's they'll post an image of Mad World or some of the characters in it, and it seems kind of strange.
or an HD remastered version for PC, Sony, and Xbox One.
Yeah, something Mad World related. That's what I think it's going to be.
Yeah,
I think
seems pretty logic.
I think it might be something maybe because earlier this year there was like a brief glimpse of a number 2 that resembled like the Metal Gear Solid Rising Revengeance text, and there was like a 2. It was like in this countdown in a trailer, and Platinum Games helped make Metal Gear Rising, so it could be a sequel to the game, but I honestly don't know, but I think it could be. But Mad World could be more plausible. But I wouldn't count out sequel to Revengeance.
The only thing we can know for sure is that Camilla is going to block you on Twitter. That's all we can say for now.
Oh crap!
You know what? I blocked him on Twitter just so he couldn't do that to me.
But he blocked you first. I saw that.
He blocked me?
Yeah, he blocked you. He actually called you out, and he said, "Oh, I'm going to," and you're blocked now.
To me?
Yeah,
what did I say? What did
Why
I
do
do?
you block you?
You just answered him, and he's just like a very, angry person, like who likes to hate the Western guys.
Weird. I think what all I
He's
can
kind of
remember.
a douche, actually.
Yeah, I
I hope you
remember
hear that.
ever saying to him was he was blocking people one day, and I just wrote blocked and blocked him because I just wanted to preemptively do that to him.
Yeah,
And-
he blocked you. He was like quoting you and blocking you. On the same tweet.
He must not know who I am, or he
Yeah,
wouldn't have done
he was like achievement unlocked.
that. So now we're going to get into one of our new segments on the podcast. It's called Tips for a Well-Rounded SEGA Nerd. And essentially what this is, basically any sort of movies, video games, books, articles, or anything like that we've come across over the past week that we want to share with the listeners that we think you guys might be interested in. We're going to go ahead and just share that with you guys, and then maybe you guys will go check it out, and it'll make you a little bit more of a well-rounded SEGA nerd. Get that?
Yeah.
More culture.
Yeah, we want our listeners to be more learned, and
Yes.
not just
That's
it's
a word,
not
right?
always just about Sega. You gotta round yourself out a little bit, and so that's what this is going to be. So Kopke, I'll let you go first.
Okay. Since this week was this past, which was Wednesday, I think? It was June 3rd. It was like the 55th anniversary of Sega. So I'm going to recommend 3 basic books to celebrate that. The first one is some Mega Drive collected works, which is this book over here, which is big and black. And let me showcase you like this. This book is celebrating like years of history with the Mega Drive, Genesis, and lots of title, has lots of cool illustrations, and the best part of it is that it has like these interviews with key people that develop either games or hardware for the Mega Drive / Genesis era.
I do
Yeah.
really, really want to get that very bad.
And it's pretty cheap for what it is. I mean, look at this. This is pretty thick. It has a lot of content and really well printed illustrations. I mean, the book is like really cheap for the money they're asking, so you guys better get a copy of it. This book got thanks to the fans because they supported it on Kickstarter. This is one of the best successful projects that this crowdfunding service has ever gotten out there. So you guys better buy yourself a copy because this is not only a legacy of a good console, but this is also a historical piece that is registering on. It's well documented and it's well written and it's in a really pretty and nice format. So you guys that have the chance, buy it. I mean, for the price it is, it's pretty cheap. The other one is this other book, which is called the Mega Drive Bible. Before that Genesis collected work book was out for us Western audience, the Japanese had this book, which is called Mega Drive Bible. And they had it in another format. This is a really newer one, a recent edition, And what it is basically every register of every single Mega Drive / Genesis game, and the Japanese had them and never shared it to us.
Those bastards.
I mean, it even has the American titles and the European ones, exclusives. All of them are registered here, and there's a brief description for each game. It has the Mega Drive, Genesis, European Mega Drive, Sega CD, Mega CD, the Japanese version, and also 32X. So there's a lot of history. And since our guys from England did the Genesis Collected Works, obviously the Japanese guys got jealous and added a few pages from the other book, but these ones are smaller, so they don't look as pretty as the English version of the Collected Works, which is a lot prettier. This one is a really cheap book. It actually is like $10. So, getting all that knowledge registered here, even looking at the pictures, it's pretty, how do you say, educational for one to just like be reading that. The other one, it's another basic Sega history book, which is called The History of Sonic the Hedgehog. This book is way a lot bigger than the book we get on the special version of Sonic Generations, and this one is a cheaper version than the first edition. The first edition was a hardcover book. This one is like softcover, but this one is pretty cheap. It's like $15, I think. And the thing with this is that it has a lot of registries on what Sonic is, but it also has introductory part that is telling you a little bit of the history of Sega. You see, here's their first video game ever, which is Periscope, and also tells you a little bit about Alex Kidd and stuff like that, the process of doing a mascot. And it even talks about SG-1000, which is here. Can you guys see it?
Oh, wow.
I see
That's it. So there's a lot of history here, and it's a pretty well-done book. And fortunately, this one is in English because the guys at Udon did the localization from the French Pixiv and Love edition. So this is a really well-done book with love from the fans to the fans. So you guys get it. It's really cheap on Amazon right now. So those are my 3 recommendations for celebration of Sega's 55th anniversary.
Very well done.
Yeah, eat your heart out, Oprah's book club.
Now, before Marcin, before you go into yours, I do want to set it up really quickly, and it's going to spoil a little bit, so forgive me, but I want to let our listeners know why it's important that you're about to share what you are about to share. So Jurassic Park is kind of our game of the month for this month. We haven't posted an official announcement, but it is. We've been reviewing. Our goal is to review all of the Jurassic Park games that have been released on a Sega console up to the point when the movie is going to be released. I think it's next week, right?
This Friday.
Yep.
This Friday. Holy cow!
Yes.
And
we should have invited Stephen Clem to talk about Jurassic Park.
Oh, he's gonna be on. He'll be on. So anyway,
yeah.
So we've been highlighting some Jurassic Park games this month. Jurassic Park month at Sega Nerds. So there we go, Marcin.
So yeah. So basically, I think most people on planet Earth have seen the movie, but I don't know if you guys have bought the Blu-ray version of the Jurassic Park series. It's at Best Buy. It's on sale, cheap plug. But if you do have the change, I'd recommend getting it because in addition to it being in HD, perfect quality, surround sound if you guys could afford it, they also have some pretty cool documentaries that I think have a interesting, view on how the movie was made. Things like the animatronic dinosaurs that were created. It took a whole bunch of people to work just like the T-Rex's head, his arms, his legs, and it took them forever for that thing to be made. And one thing I just wanted to mention briefly, because I would recommend you guys see the documentary, so I wouldn't want to, spoil the whole thing. There was a scene where if you guys remember the raining scene, where the T-Rex is coming out of the cage and he's attacking the people.
Objects are closer than they appear.
Exactly. The Goldblum, as I'd like to call him. Yeah, so they basically created this dinosaur, and Spielberg wanted to make the scene rain, which ended up happening. And he asked the animatronic guy, is it a good idea? And the animatronic guy actually didn't know what would happen. So they actually rolled the dice, and it didn't work as it was supposed to be. So as it was raining, the animatronic dinosaur's head was getting heavier because of the rain. So it was soaking up, all the liquid. The neck wasn't moving as it was supposed to. And every time the scene was finished, every time they cut the scene, they took 5 or 6 people and started smacking the dinosaur's head with towels to dry him off. But yeah, so I would recommend for anybody who's interested in cinema or who's interested in behind-the-scenes look of how things like that were created. How realistic the dinosaur was partially because of the animatronics and also CGI, which was actually one of the first ones who started doing CGI, and it still holds up. I would say even 20 or so years later.
I agree, and it's funny that you mentioned that, because we were actually having a conversation with some of my friends about that earlier in the week. That I think that out of all the CG movies that I've seen, and that's the danger, especially with early CG movies from the 90s and maybe the early 2000s, is that very, very few of them hold up to the test of time. It's almost like the early 3D video games, like during the PlayStation Saturn era, where we thought that there was this new revolution, and it was like the next frontier of video game development, and it was. But look at those early games, and they're really hard on the eye. Some of them, a lot of them, whereas a lot of the other like 2D sprite-based games still look awesome. Like you can still look at Mario Brothers, Super Mario World, Sonic 2 or Sonic 3, and they look great. But you look at the original Tomb Raider, and it looks like ass.
Really
triangle boobs.
Yeah. So that's pretty interesting that you said that. I have a couple, and one is a book and one is an article. The first one is a book, and I can't remember. I don't know if I talked about this on the last podcast. I might have. Forgive me if I did. It's called Masters of Doom by David Kushner, and it goes back and essentially retells John Romero and John Carmack, how they grew up, how they eventually started getting into game development, and how they eventually came together and formed id and eventually created Doom. And I expect that it's going to talk a little bit about how they eventually broke up and went their separate ways. But it is such a fascinating book, and it's so inspiring to read about their passion for game development, about how much they loved it, how much time they would stay up, and just it almost got to a point to become an obsession with them, I think. And it's really, really interesting, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. I'm about a third of the way through the book right now, and I really wish I had more time just to sit down and read it all the way through. But it's got me really interested in trying to learn a little bit about game development myself. I really wish that when I was young I had access to a computer that I could have been able to start game development back then. But unfortunately we didn't get a computer till much later, and I just never was able to get into it, and I kind of fell into more of the writing, which I'm doing up until today. But I really want to get more into just learning some of the basics of primitive game development and things like that. So I'm looking into doing that. So if any of you guys out there who are listening to the show, if you guys know some tips or anything like that, or maybe some resources that you would suggest someone who's trying to learn the ropes on really primitive and basic game development, definitely let me know. But if you're a fan of Doom, or of either John Carmack or John Romero, definitely check out Masters of Doom. It's a very, very good book. Next up is a Vice article, which I read today, and it was just completely fascinating. It's basically about the Final Fantasy VII house, and some people out there might be familiar with this story. I wasn't, and it basically follows the story of this guy who he's kind of like an outcast. Has like gender identity issues, and he's growing up in a house where he doesn't get along with his parents, and finally one of his friends introduces him to Final Fantasy VII, and he really gets into it, and he kind of becomes obsessed with the series and writing like fan fiction and things like that, which you've kind of seen a lot of people on the internet get, but he ended up starting to join these different online groups that were devoted to Final Fantasy VII, and he met this person who kind of had a house where she would bring people in who were in the Final Fantasy VII community. And she seemed kind of crazy, where she thought that she was one of like a resurrected character from the Final Fantasy VII video game, which sounds kind of crazy. But turns out she would convince people to come move and live with her, and then she would pretty much, from what the article said, she would like psychologically abuse them and kind of control them, and it was just this really terrible situation. And this guy that the story follows ends up, she convinces him to come move in with her, and she just like treats them like terribly bad, like controls their every move, and it's essentially sounded like it became almost like a cult that was based around Final Fantasy VII, and they would just live in filth, and she thought that she had some sort of like magical powers, and she would make them. It's crazy. It's one of the craziest stories relating to video game, I guess, culture that I've ever read.
Yeah,
and if you're not familiar with it, I definitely suggest you go check it out. It's on Vice.com, or you can, if you just Google Vice, the Tale of the Final Fantasy VII House, you should be able to find it. And it's a pretty quick read. It shouldn't take you too long. But man, it is very fascinating, and just it's very disturbing. It's a very disturbing read.
Jesus.
So yeah, so check that out. I promise you, not all of these are going to end on such a kind of a downer like this one did. But yeah, I mean, if you guys out there listening, if you guys have some other suggestions for tips for being a well-rounded Sega nerd, write in, let us know, and we'll be sure to share them next week. So that's going to be it for that segment. Next up is the news desk, and Marcin is going to take us into that right now.
Yeah, sweet. Okay, so Monster Boy, I think most of us here are excited for Monster Boy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, in a recent update, an update on the game's official blog, they announced that the video game composer, who we all know and love, Yuzo Koshiro, who worked on games, like Streets of Rage, Shenmue. He's gonna compose the music for Monster Boy, which is really, really, really cool. And in addition to that, he also has a couple of his buddies or his friends who are gonna compose music for the game, but they'll be announced later. So, but who do you guys think his friends would be? Because I have no idea.
Oh, man.
Probably Sega people, or the guy from CMYK. I can't remember his name, but he's pretty famous. He was a Taito and stuff like that. It's like a very
I honestly, I have no idea.
when they were recording this documentary.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember this guy. I'm gonna tell you in a minute because I'm gonna Google it. YMCK. Well, the thing is that it's pretty amazing that Yuzo Koshiro is making music for this game. I mean, this version actually has some members from the original Westbound team that developed the original Monster World series, and now getting a legend from Streets of Rage like Yuzo Koshiro there. I mean, this game is getting a lot of nice resources.
Yeah, I mean, this game started out as a game at Atelier. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. They're a French developer. It originally started out as a sequel to one of their mobile games called Flying Hamster 2. That was what it originally started out as, and even at that point, it was different from the original game, and it was more of a. It paid homage to the Wonder Boy / Monster World series, and they released a Kickstarter for it, and we recovered that. At that point, just because of the fact that it was very obvious, paying homage to that series. And almost midway through the Kickstarter campaign, they ended up unexpectedly just closing it and said, we'll announce the reasons why in a few days. It was really weird. And a few days later, they announced that they found a publisher, FDG Entertainment, was going to publish the game, and that was great news. Because they didn't have to worry about whether they were going to get funded or not, and they were going to be able to, kind of do all the things that they wanted to do with the game. So that was really cool.
Yeah.
But months later, they came out and said, "Hey, we're completely revamping the game. We're changing the name to Monster Boy, and it's going to be, even more of a Monster World Wonder Boy game." And then even after that, they announced that, like you said, Kopke, some of the original members of the team were going to be joining the project, and Ryuichi Nishizawa, I think that I nailed that one, I bet.
Close enough.
Right, was going to be joining, and it's actually going to be like a canon part of the series. It's going to be the official sequel to those games. They couldn't. I don't think they own the trademark to those names, so they couldn't use it. But that's going to be an official canon according to him. And so this game has just had such an interesting evolution in its development, and I think right now it's scheduled to be released at the end of the year on PS4 and PC. There's going to be announcing other platforms later on, but just it's crazy how this game started as literally had really nothing to do with the Monster World series, and eventually, just like little by little, it evolved to the point where it's now an official follow-up to the last game, and we have Yuzo Koshiro, we have some of the original members on board, and this is just so cool. This is really what I love about game development and kind of where we're at in the industry these days with old developers that are coming back and releasing follow-ups, whether it's like a Castlevania or whether it's Monster Boy. I love this kind of state that we're in with video games. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree.
Well, in the case of developers, the publishers are not doing so well, but in the case of developers, it's pretty amazing that they can say, like, screw you, I'm going to make my own game with my own women and slot machines.
Yeah.
And that's pretty amazing.
Going back to Yuzo Koshiro, it's just kind of weird that all this news with him has been coming out lately. We get this, and then a few weeks ago, of course, we've got the Streets of Rage soundtrack that's going to be coming to vinyl from Digital. Oh man, what is it? Digital
Data discs.
Data disc. Thank you, man. I really blew that one. And so it's just crazy that we've been hearing so much about him as of late, where really we don't hear from him a whole lot these days. But I had, even just unrelating to all of this stuff, I'd been going back and listening to some of his work, and I've been really getting into the Streets of Rage soundtrack. I absolutely love it.
Really?
It's my ringtone right now. I've been listening to it while I go work out at the gym and everything. And I also got into watching this documentary. I didn't want to put this into the last segment.
Digging in the cards, right? The one that Red Bull Music did.
Yeah, Red Bull created this called Digging in the Carts. And if you haven't watched this documentary, I definitely suggest you do, especially if you're into video game soundtracks and music. It features a ton of great, iconic Japanese music composers. They have Yoko Shimomura, who did Street Fighter.
Uematsu is there also. There's this woman that made the Pac-Man soundtrack, which she's very famous. And there's the Street Fighter composer.
Yeah, they have Hirokazu Tanaka from Nintendo. He did the original Metroid soundtrack, and of course they have Koshiro on there, and it's
Yeah,
really great. You get to
and there's
hear
also
some.
this big Sega legend, which is also in the documentary. Have to state that is Hiro. Hiro is in the documentary, and he is responsible for most of the iconic Sega sounds, like the Space Harrier melody, the Outrun soundtrack, even the BIOS sounds from the Saturn, the Dreamcast, and the Sega Mega Drive and Genesis. Hiro is responsible for those sounds. He's also in the documentary, and they give it. There's also like this. There's like very like 5 parts, I think, and there's one part that is almost entirely of Sega and
Well, that's
Hero.
good
And
because as I was
it's
watching
amazing.
it, there's so much of like the first like 4 parts were pretty much focused solely on Nintendo, and I was like, okay, when are you going to get to the Sega stuff? And eventually, they finally did, which was nice. But yeah, if you haven't watched that, definitely check that out because I do think it's great. I'm really interested in seeing what he's going to do with this game, tone he's going to take with it, because it's kind of more of a whimsical type of game, right? It's not going to have like kind of the hard beats that Streets of Rage is going to have. It's not going to have some of the like the really hard metal that Ease would have. And I know he's worked on more melodic and softer games before, but this is going to be interesting to see what he does with Monster Boy.
Yeah, it's actually
So
very resourceful. He also has done lots of other Sega game soundtracks. Like, for example, one of the most notorious recently is Seven Dragoon Saga on the first game, which was for a Nintendo 3DS, and the other ones that were PSP releases. I mean, those soundtracks are brilliant. He even got this Vocaloid Hatsune Miku into the soundtracks, and it sounds fantastic. I mean, it's something like new age, but also classical, but also combines this weird Miku, Hatsune Miku voice into it. It's really amazing. This guy is like really on another level when in terms of making game music soundtracks.
maybe we'll get him to do our next iteration of the Nerdcast theme song.
Yeah, hire him, Chris.
Yeah.
We'll have to do a Kickstarter just to afford him to do
Yeah,
the intro.
I would totally give money for that.
All right, what's next, Marcin?
So if I had a soundboard, I'd have a wah wah sound. But so the Sonic Boom comic series is gonna come to an end after the Worlds Unite crossover event. So basically, the Sonic Boom characters will continue in other books and variations, but I do agree that it's going to be interesting how long that lasts as well. In addition to the games revolving around that version of Sonic and the TV show, which I think is probably the most popular of the three mediums that they've
Yeah.
used. So
Absolutely.
yeah, thank you. That was perfect. So yeah, so what do you think this means for the franchise going forward, guys?
I think this is basically spells the end. I can't see. I think what Sega was hoping for. I think Sega was hoping that the game would take off a lot more, and this would essentially be a new like merchandising avenue that Sega could move in with Sonic Boom, and they'd be able to continue the comic franchise, the TV series, and the games would become kind of a series unto themselves. And I do think that had it been a lot more successful, I think I could see Sega allowing Big Red Button to continue working that series, and I really do think that Sega was looking for almost like how some of the big publishers do, like Call of Duty, how one developer works on it one year and the next year another developer puts out their game. I could see Sega, had Boom been really successful, say in 2015 they release like a Sonic Boom game, 2016 Sonic Team releases a game, and they kind of work it that way. So every 2 years there's a new game by the same development studio. But just seeing with how bad Sonic Boom sold, I mean, it was like the worst-selling Sega or Sonic series or game in a long, long time. And I can't see them continuing the Sonic Boom TV series without anything else coming out in any of the other mediums that they typically, they typically do. What do you think, Hoppy?
Definitively. I mean, it just was like a big Titanic, and it's sinking more. So instead of adding more resources that they are not gonna see profit from them, I think it's really reasonable to start like retiring all this Sonic Boom stuff. I mean, you're losing money from it. Why should they keep doing that?
Yeah, it's a bummer because the Worlds Unite is coming. It's looking like it's going to be a really awesome event, and so it's kind of a bummer that it's going to end with Sonic Boom issue 11. It's going to be the last issue for Sonic Boom, but at least it's going out kind of on a high note. It's a part of this really awesome crossover event that looks like it's going to bring some cool stuff. And the thing is, like, the more I look at what they've been doing with this Mega Man and Sonic crossover, even going back to the last one, I really think if Capcom and Sega work together to create some sort of crossover Sonic and Mega Man game, I think that could work really well. Even if a fighting game would be awesome, but even if they try to do some sort of a platform with, I think that could be really interesting. It would definitely open up some cool gameplay designs, and really I think if they had gone in that direction with Big Red Button and instead of trying to create like something like Sonic Boom, if they worked with Capcom and were able to figure out a way to create like a Mega Man Sonic crossover game, that would have been a much more interesting take on a Western developed Sonic game than Sonic Boom was, I think.
Yeah. And people would have pre-ordered that game without like hesitation or thinking about it.
Yeah, because I mean, obviously Capcom hasn't been doing a lot with the Mega Man franchise. I mean, they did announce today that they're coming out with a new Mega Man compilation on next-gen consoles.
Yeah, but way too late. Like, finally, after hearing too much about Mighty Number 9, these guys thought, okay, maybe this thing.
Yeah.
After all.
But I mean, I think that would have been able to. That would have allowed Mega Man fans to at least play a new Mega Man game, even if it was a crossover with Sonic, and that just would have been. I just think it would have been made for a really interesting possibility with that. So.
Yeah, I do.
All right. Yeah. So yeah, Sonic Boom's dead.
And they're not bringing it back.
Cliff Notes version.
Yeah.
You guys can rest. Yeah.
Alright, so right after that, we also have an announcement from Nintendo with Mario and Sonic at the Rio 2016 Olympic Games. They've done what, one game before? That was, or probably maybe
Two games.
Two games, yeah. And they've announced it in the past week's Nintendo Direct broadcast. So, I mean, I want to see synchronized swimming from Sonic and Mario. I think it'd be pretty cool, right? Speedos, yeah. But so it's in development for the Wii U and the 3DS, and it's going to be based off events that'll happen in next summer's Olympics, like soccer, rugby, volleyball. I think they're bringing back what sport did they bring back to next year's Olympics? I think it's either. Is it golf, possibly? It's probably golf. So something to look forward to, I guess, for anybody who's a fan of the Olympics, Mario, and or Sonic. So, but the other interesting thing is that it looks like it's outside of the original deal between Nintendo and Sega, because they originally were supposed to bring 3 Sonic games to the Wii U, but this looks like it's more than that. So what do you think that means?
Yeah, I think it means like Sega was like, okay, I need money, Uncle Ninty, and Ninty was like, okay, I need games, Sega, so why don't we then give us another chance? And they were like an old married couple that just went drinking and slept with each other after all those years of divorce. So that's pretty much what I think it happened.
Yeah, I think Sega probably owns the licensing rights to the Olympics still for a few more years. I don't know how long it is, but obviously they still have it. They did release that Olympics game for like the PS3 and the Xbox 360 a year or two ago. I can't imagine that really sold all that well. So I think they probably looked at it and looked at the possibilities. Like, do we develop another Olympics game for the PS4 or the PS3, the 360, the Xbox One, or do we go with Mario and Sonic, which we know is going to probably sell pretty well, even though it's on the Wii U? And I think that's probably what they decided to do. They probably didn't form a new publishing deal with Nintendo like they did previously. I think they just said, hey, we have to put something out. We own the license. Contractually, we have to put something out every so often. So this is what it's going to be. And they probably just decided to team up with Nintendo again because that they have to meet those contractual obligations. And who knows? Maybe they formed some sort of separate agreement with Nintendo to do these Olympic games outside of that deal.
Besides, Nintendo right now is like, hey guys, I still have a console. Hey publishers, speak with me again. And publishers now.
The one thing I do want. I wonder, have they announced any Amiibo support for this? I don't think they have yet.
No, they haven't.
That would be really cool because that would possibly open up the possibility for some new Sega-related and Sonic Amiibos. I mean, all what we have right now is Sonic the Hedgehog, but we could see some other ones, like maybe Tails, Knuckles.
Big the Cat.
Big the Cat, that's what I was going with, too. Yeah, so.
Sonic Boom Sonic.
Oh, man.
Bandages and all.
So, yeah, so interesting stuff there. It'll be kind of cool to see where that goes. I mean, I've never really been that interested in those Mario and Sonic games. I don't think I've ever really bothered playing them, to be honest with you.
Neither do I, but I have a box.
I think I'm more interested in just from the kind of the financial aspect of it, from the business standpoint of what Sega's doing with this and with Nintendo, and seeing like where it might lead them going forward. So that's that. Next up, we have This Week in Japan, where Kopke rolls through the latest in Japanese Sega news. So why don't you lead us into that, Kopke?
Yes, finally we're getting old, and Sega is getting old, and they finally had their 55th anniversary, like they're 55 years old. But the thing is that there's a little bit of confusion between Sega's real age, like those women that women that lie about their age. Sega does the same thing because if you guys remember, Sega was originally founded by David Rosen in 1940 in Hawaii, right? But the thing is that there's a little bit of confusion. The company that was founded that was Service Games, actually not named Sega as a contraction. So the thing is that Service Game is older than Sega itself. And when David Rosen goes to Japan after this post-war and the Americans came to that country, and there was like this big industrial revolution, which also spawned a lot of big companies that Japan has till today. That was when the alliance between this American Rosen company and the other that Arakawa and the other guys had became actually Sega for electronic amusement. So that's what the Japanese are counting as the 55th anniversary. And the thing is that they also don't like to recognize the part of the American history in their company. So they always
Sega Japan not wanting to recognize the success of the Western side?
Yeah.
I would never believe that.
Yeah, I mean, you know how those guys are. But the thing is that they are celebrating 55 years as a Japanese company. That's what they are saying. It's our 55th birthday as an electronic entertainment company.
Fair
Which
enough.
is also kind of a bummer because they are not called Sega anymore. They are now Sega Games, a redundancy like service games. Like it's kind of weird now. That's what happened. So the thing is that it also gives us an excuse to actually celebrate their birthday and all of these years of history because if you take a look at all that glorious past, I mean, there's a lot of achievements there, and they also released a video that in which they are giving like a small hope of what they can achieve for the future. Like, okay, the situation is bad, but we did all this, and now we have to uh, get back on our feet and start like getting back on that glorious track that we must do because we're a company that represents all this. So that was a very positive message.
What if Sega were to release a new Sega Gaga game, but it
I
would
would totally buy it.
I think
well,
you missed a god there.
Yeah.
did I?
I don't know. I just assumed there's like 4.
But instead of releasing it on a console, since Sega's new kind of direction is with mobile games, it would be a mobile Sega game.
I would totally buy that. I even buy a mobile game to buy.
It would basically kind of show the current state of Sega, where they're financially in trouble again, and you've got to figure out how to transition them into kind of a mobile developer. And almost it would be
This would make total sense.
there's that one I think it was a game dev story or something like that on mobile that was really fun. Like you're basically running like an indie game studio. It was almost kind of like a simulation game, and it was really fun. But maybe it'd be something kind of like that, and you've got to help Sega transition into mobile development, get them back on track, raise their funds, make them profitable, all this other stuff. I think that would be pretty cool. That's what they should do.
Yeah, it is, and it makes a lot of sense. So Sega, hire Chris. He has a really nice idea.
I have all the ideas. Shenmue 3.
Yeah.
No, I don't think that they will do that. But the Sega Gaga one is really interesting approach on the series.
Yeah. Thank you.
We will be battling Dogma Mobile Corporation now.
All right. Well, what else is next?
The other news is that Sega, Sega is celebrating 55 years. They also making a lot of events that are planned for these years. One is the Sakura Taisen anniversary, which they are going to be holding concerts in October. The Sakura Taisen anniversary is actually in September, but the concerts are going to be happening in October. There's also this Symphonic Sega concert that is also happening in October, which is celebrating 55 years of Sega history through the music. And there's also this Phantasy Star Online 15th anniversary, which we're not going to be forming part of because we're Western and they hate us. And but the Japanese guys are going to be celebrating that, and we're not. And there's also this, which was, okay, so there are joining two birthdays together, like the Dengeki Banko birthday and the Sega birthday, to release a new version of Fighting Climax, which is hitting arcades this summer in Japan. They are bringing new gameplay, new mechanics, fixed gameplay from the previous version. It's like making, like, for example, Marvel vs. Capcom 3 and then releasing the Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, like the newer version, but it's totally an entire different game because it has more like characters, more sages, and different gameplay and stuff like that. They're actually doing that same fighting game formula with a new Fighting Climax game, which is having at least 3 more characters have been announced. And today they announced the next one, which is from a series that's written by the guy that from Certain Magical Index and Certain Scientific Railgun, which I can't remember the IP right now. It's like Heavy something. But the thing is that you're getting new characters. These are 2 more, and looks like we're getting more as August is approaching.
Sweet.
Yeah, that's it.
All right. So that is our This Week in Japan. Thank you very much for that, Kopke. And now we're going
You're very
to
welcome.
go into our, and that's going to be, this is going to be kind of a fun one. It's what video game misconception did you have as a kid? So this could be anything, whether it's maybe like a mispronunciation of a game or a development studio, or just something that you thought that was absolutely correct when you were a kid, and then later on, as you grew up, you learned that you were completely wrong about. And this is going to be something that we could even talk about more and more, as we go forward. But we definitely want to hear from you guys. So if you tell us what misconceptions you had, we'll share them next week. But let's go, Marston. Why don't you go first, buddy?
Okay, so this one's kind of stupid, as in I don't know how the hell I was that stupid, but so when I was around 6 or 7, I pre-ordered a Star Wars Episode 1 for the PlayStation 1, right? And I couldn't comprehend that there was a set date for it to come out. So I went to Toys R Us at least once or twice a week to see if they got the game in. So I kept going in there like, no, it comes out, blah, blah, blah. And then I begged my dad to go back to Toys R Us every week. And they kept saying, no, it's not back. And my dad couldn't really speak English that well, so I guess that's why he also doesn't get, the concept of what a pre-order is. So, he was about as clueless as I was. So, the other thing revolving around the Toys R Us thing is I don't know if that's a thing that used to be. I'm still not sure. But for some reason, I don't know if you guys remember, Toys R Us had like, I think it was like the box art, and they had the price tags, and for some reason I would pull the price tags out and then give it to the sales associate, whoever, and then they went to grab it from the warehouse. And I don't know if that's just a vague memory and that actually happened.
I want to say they still do that. I think they don't keep any of the product on the floor. I think it's probably for like anti-theft reasons.
See, because I thought I was just being an asshole, and I was just like taking their one and only price tag and then giving it to them, and then have to put it back, But yeah. So, and then the other thing, memory cards. So I had no concept of what a memory card was. I didn't know what the point of it was. My first memory card I ever got was for the Crash Bandicoot game. I think it was Crash Bandicoot 2. And the only reason we got a memory card was because we thought there was something behind this door, and that was the the saving hub. And I thought it was just like a door to unlock something new. So I told my dad, I need this memory card because I think, there's something behind this door. And that's where I started learning about the concept of saving games. Because before that, didn't save anything. Just played it. Died, started all over. I just thought that's how it was. I mean, the most games, older systems didn't have that kind of thing. But I I learned about memory cards through this stupid incident where I thought if I buy one, a door's gonna open and unlock something. So, yeah, that's me.
Who needs a memory card when you got passwords?
Yeah, password. Exactly. That was the other thing. I had passwords, and that's how I skipped to different levels. Because I'm like, screw this. This level's too hard. Never beat the game. Triangle X square, whatever the hell it was. Level 7 instead of level 2. So yeah.
That's hilarious. All right, Key. What about yours?
Mine's a really shameful one. The thing is that there were a couple of TurboGrafx 16 games that I was never able to get, and I am a really huge fan of the Disney Afternoon series like Darkwing Duck or Tailspin and stuff. And actually, I think I told you guys about the drama I had with getting this Sea Duck toy that actually Lee helped me to get from Europe, but that was like the only toy I was missing from the Tailspin collection. So But the thing is that I was really frustrated that I never got the Darkwing Duck TurboGrafx 16 game. I was like, man, it should be awesome. I mean, like, this was TurboGrafx 16, and this should be like better than the Nintendo version because the Nintendo is 8-bit and this is 16-bit, so it must be better. Well, turns out that the Darkwing Duck game is actually one of the worst games ever done for PC Engine or slash TurboGrafx 16, and it was really disappointing to see that this was a very expensive game that I spent a lot of money in getting it. And the thing is that it is so badly done, like way worse than any alien colonials Marines can ever do. So, yeah, that was like my childhood misconception that when I was a grown up, I got really frustrated of what it really was.
That was the latest Angry Nintendo or Angry Video Game Nerd episode was on Darkwing Duck. Yeah, so go check it out. It's really funny.
I actually not gonna have fun because probably I would be like, yeah, you're right, you fucktard.
I think I've seen every one of his videos. He's great. So for mine, this one actually started with my older brother, and he's the one that I kind of credit for getting us into a lot of my younger brother and I, at least, for getting us into a lot of video games early on in our lives. But he was really into RPGs. He played Dungeons and Dragons a lot, so once he started playing video games, he kind of drifted into that, and he introduced us to a lot of them as well. But one of the things that he would always tell us, and I think he actually legitimately believed this too, so in an RPG, when you get like a new weapon that's actually an upgrade from your old one, so say like in the original Final Fantasy, say you had like a wooden sword, you went from a wooden sword to an iron sword. Well, he believed in the game that your character would actually have to get accustomed to that new item, and so as you'd go into battle, he wouldn't do as much damage until he got accustomed to it, and then once he got used to actually wielding this new weapon, after a few battles, he would start doing more and more damage. And so that was something that we just believed because we were little kids and our older brother was telling us. We actually went on believing that for years. I don't even know at what point did I ever stop believing that, or when I realized that that was actually wrong. And it's something I still kind of think about whenever I get a new weapon in a video game, especially an RPG. I still kind of think back to that, and really, it almost kind of makes sense in a way. If you're you're this warrior and you're used to using this certain weapon, and then all of a sudden you get a new weapon, you naturally it might take a little bit of time for him to get used to that new weapon and really learn how to wield it to the best possible way. So in some weird way, it actually made perfect sense that this gameplay mechanic would be in a video game. But back then in the NES days, I mean, it was early in the NES days, there was no way, I don't think that, I'm sure there was a way that they could probably program it to do that, but it just, I never experienced that in a video game. Maybe there was some weird Dungeons and Dragons game back in the day that had something like that, but I don't think there was ever a legitimate game that actually featured a thing in it that you'd have to get used to your item. So that was just a weird misconception that we had growing up that stuck with us for a really long time, probably too long, as a matter of fact. But like I said, if you guys have a funny misconception that you can think of, definitely share it with us. You can send us an email, seganerds@gmail.com, or get us on Facebook or Twitter and just message us there. We definitely want to hear from you guys, and we'll them next week. So now let's get into a little bit about what we've been playing, and then we'll get out of here. Marcin, you want to go first?
Sure, I'll make it quick because I didn't play much this past week, so it's been a little difficult for me to find some time. Yeah, hear me?
Oh,
yeah.
I can now. Sorry.
Okay, yeah. So basically, what I said was, it was a little difficult for this, past week or so. To play anything. So if I do have the time to sit down and play something, I just played a little bit of Mortal Kombat, probably 15 minutes max. So it's been a bit hectic. So I haven't had the time to play anything really. So maybe you guys have played something and actually relaxed.
Hmm.
Kopke, I'll let you go first.
Okay, I started by playing two games. The first one is one that is the spiritual successor for a really nice Sega game, which is called Res. The Tetsuya Mizuguchi actually released a spiritual successor, but it was for the 360 and the PlayStation, which is called Child of Eden. This game is like highly on really strong chemical drugs. Like this is an acid. But the thing is that this game is pretty amazing. Like as a shooter and being like actually like a sequel to Res. I mean, this is like kind of a one-way experience trip. But definitely, this guy was in really high acids. Like, but it's awesome. It's one of the best games you can ever get for the PlayStation. And what's good about the PlayStation version is that it doesn't necessarily obligate you to play it with PlayStation Move. You can play it with the controller also, which actually gives you a res type experience. So you guys get this. It's really cheap in these days because it didn't sold a shit. I understand why, because PlayStation people are not into this kind of games, but it is awesome. If you're a Sega fan, you must have this one. And the other game is that I was like going to the supermarket, and there was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna step into the video game store, see what it is. And the thing is that this game was for $5. So I said, okay, I'm buying it because it's $5. But the thing is that I actually want to get all the Yakuza games, so I'll be searching for the third one, and I'm getting the Japanese HD remastered copy, which has the first and second one on the same disc, which is fine.
Nice.
And that's what I've been playing. The other thing is that Chris was really kind enough to give me one of these devices, which is the PlayStation TV. And what we saw in Amazon is that they were dropping the price dramatically for these devices. How much we're watching? Like $40, something like that, right?
$40, but that is that is an original PlayStation TV when they were running at $100.
Okay, well, thank you. It is really, really a nice gift. But the thing is that I was dumb enough to not notice this part. Like, it requires a PlayStation Vita card. So I couldn't run it properly to, like, the device. I actually configured it with my PlayStation Network ID and that stuff and the controller, and it works perfectly fine because, it's a PlayStation Vita that you can play on your TV. And it's actually has a lot of ports. Like, here's the entrance for the PlayStation Vita games, which is nice, and here's like the HDMI and the controller, and you can also plug in the PlayStation Vita card, which I forgot. And so I said, okay, I'm gonna buy a card, and I went to the game store. The same day I went for the Yakuza game, and the guy at the store started laughing, and he was like, "Oh, the Vita's dead. What would you want a Vita card?"
Oh man.
I was like, and I was like, okay.
Sad but true.
It was like, okay, the thing is that I got the PlayStation Vita TV and I need the card, so do you have the fucking card? And start laughing about what I need because you're a store. You have to, like, obey my demands when I buy you something. And he was like, okay, here's the thing, and he kept laughing, and he was like, well, like I told you, Vita doesn't sell a shit here, so the thing is that we don't get that often those cards, and the only cards we get are the 4 GB cards, and we get them, and we get like restock every 2 months because they don't sell. And I was like, so you have to wait until August to purchase your card. And I was like,
Oh my
oh
gosh.
shit. It was like, okay. So I will be able to play the PS Vita TV until August hits, and I'll be able to buy the card. Because the thing is that the regular video game stores don't sell them. I had to go to a Sony store to actually get them because they are the only ones that are supplying these cards.
You can't get it online?
I can get it online. I think I will get it on Amazon, like the thing. Um, so I think I will rather buy it from Amazon. I don't know. I think I will buy the 8 GB card, or I think there's a 64 GB card, but I don't know. Maybe I will tell my brother, which he's actually in Japan right now, to buy me one of those because they only sell them there. So I think that's what happened with the card. It's a pretty funny story with the guy. So the bastard kept laughing, and I was like, okay, I'm not gonna buy you the card either way. So fuck you. I went down on the phone. That's what happened with the card. But the system works pretty well. I was like navigating through it, and it's pretty stable. It's basically the beta, the same, but it has certain tweaks for the controller, like pushing the circle button, so you can switch instead of like making this thing with the touch screen on the beta. You actually operate that thing with the controller. And I also don't have access to the PlayStation Store because I'm turning the beta from Mexico, which has a different IP. But it is asking me to download the. I can download via my PlayStation 3 to the PlayStation Vita. But the thing is, I will need the card to eventually do that. So that's what happened. But I'm really thankful for that, Chris. So thank you once again for the gift. It was really nice of you.
Oh, no problem, man. For me, I've been playing more Witcher 3. That's pretty much all I've been playing when I have free time. It's so good. It's one of those games where you can sit down and play it for like 4 or 5 hours straight, and you're completely engrossed in it. Or if you only have maybe 15 or 20 minutes, which is more likely my situation. So basically, whenever I have a little bit of time, like in the mornings or later in the evening, whenever I can get it, I'll pop it in, just do a quick mission or just run around and kill a couple of things and pop back out. It's just so good. I really enjoy it. I haven't even really advanced in the main story all that much. I've just been running around doing side quests and kind of leveling up my character, and I've just been having a lot of fun with that. It's a really good open world RPG that you just feel like it's so much fun to explore. The dialogue is really cool. The voice acting's well done. I really like the game. I haven't gotten into a Witcher game before this one, and I think they've really got it right about it before. But I'm still having a lot of fun with that. Aside from that, I dug up my PSP. That's been just sitting in one of my drawers in my bedroom for a couple of years now, and I decided, hey, I'm going to go ahead and try to figure out if I can hack this thing and see what it can do. Turns out the PSP 3000 is one of the easiest things to hack, and I don't even really want to say hack because it's not. It's just literally putting in your memory card, dragging over a couple files, and then running them on your PSP. That's all you have to do.
Really?
As long as you update to, I think, one of the newest firmwares. It might be like 6.1 or something like that. I can't remember exactly what firmware version you need to be at, but I think it's one of the newest firmware versions you can get. You upgrade to that, and then you go and you can do the custom firmware on there. Makes it very easy, and from there you can load all sorts of emulators. So what I decided before I came on this trip is I loaded a bunch of pretty much all the whole Genesis library I now have on my PSP, which is just really great. It makes for going out on on flights and things like that. It makes those a breeze to be able to just go back and play some Genesis games on the go. And it's just looking at the library of games on the Genesis, it's so vast. And the thing that really bums me out is just the realization that there is never going to be a time where we can legitimately play all of those games on any of the current generation of video game consoles. And I think that's really one of the biggest reasons why emulation is so important, because if it wasn't for emulation, there's so many Sega games that we would never be able to play anymore. They would just be gone, and we would just get rehashes of Sonic 1 over and over again. And if you wanted to get in Dreamcast games, you'd be playing Sega Bass Fishing Space Channel 5 and Sonic Adventure for the rest of your life. And that's what we get, because that's what Sega seemingly always puts out when it comes out with new games or its past library on a new platform. That's what we always get. So I just think it's important to be able to have, systems like this that can do that. I know some people are kind of wishy-washy or think that emulation is bad and everything like that. And I agree only in the sense that if there's a legitimate way to buy the game and give back to the original creators, I think you should do that. But if there's no avenue to be able to buy the game other than to go out and buy the original game on eBay for $100 or whatever it's going to cost, I think you should just go out and experience these games. If there's no other alternative than to go to eBay and pay exorbitant prices, just go and download them and experience them, have some fun with them, because it's not hurting anybody. The original creators aren't losing any money from it.
Yeah, and actually, all of these are games that were published years ago. They are not making profit from them anymore. And only publisher executives can think that way, that this is bad. So you guys do it. Yeah, I agree with Chris totally.
Thank you, buddy. So yeah, I think that's going to do it for the show today. One of the things that you should do, just for some extra credit, I guess, is go out to YouTube. Greg Seward has released his latest episode in Generation 16, which is kind of funny. It's the 16th episode this past week. But in it, he features an excerpt from our interview with Al Nilsson that we did around the launch of the Console Wars book, where Al talks about Sega's reaction to Nintendo releasing Super Mario World and kind of what Sega's tactics were to hit back against Nintendo and Super Mario World. So definitely go check that out. Just go to YouTube, search for Generation 16. It's such a basic of the Genesis, and it's all just focus on the Genesis, and he provides so much cool information and gameplay footage and just history on the Genesis, and really going into different territories too. There's a lot of Japanese information on there, and I learn a lot from it. Each episode, there's something I learn something about, and he really puts a lot of work into that. And so, if you're looking for some new YouTube watching, and you haven't already checked out Generation 16, I highly suggest you check it out, because it's really well done. Yeah.
Yes,
all right.
Cool.
So, all right, that's going to do it. We'll try to be back next week. We make no promises, but hopefully we can get everything back on track. So that is going to do it for us. We are out. Take it easy.
Bye-bye.
Peace.